Is Canelo Alvarez really ducking David Benavidez? I think we can reconvene after this David Morell fight that David Benavidez looked really good in my opinion. I thought he looked very strong. This was the first time where I was like, I was really like envisioning Canelo in there. Obviously, Canelo's not probably going to go up to 75 to fight David. It would probably be a big advantage. If anything, he'd make him come down. But now I feel like that fight isn't really on the table anymore. It seems like Canelo Alvarez has been clear on his initiatives to make a lot of money and make big fights happen. I'm not here to say that Terrence Crawford's a walk in the park because I don't think that's the case. People are talking about fighting Jake Paul in May or June for Canelo Alvarez. I don't love that fight because it's just like, why right now? You're going to go from Jake Paul to Terrence Crawford, but hopefully that Jake Paul fight is just a fluke. I'm hearing some reports about, Turki Al-Sheikh being willing to put up money for that fight, and I'm just like, if anything, make it happen after. That's just like, it's like a circus. It's like a circus, honestly. I feel like Jake Paul, he's an entertaining guy. He knows how to get people excited, but he's not a boxer. He's not, in the category of where he can contend with the best in the world. That's just my opinion. I respect what he's doing. I feel like there's a market for it, and there's a world and an industry, a niche category where people are going to continue to watch him do his thing against new opponents, washed up MMA fighters, or maybe even currently ranked MMA fighters that are still active and can strike a little bit, can box a little bit. But for Canelo, I feel like he should just focus on, real fights, not necessarily fighting a guy like Jake Paul. I understand that Canelo's earned the right to take whatever fight he wants, and it's clear, like I said before, that he's here for the money. He's here to make big fights and to make a bag and to, make sure that his legacy lives on and he's well off for the well-being of his family with a lot of money. And, that's basically what he wants to do, and I'm not judging him for it. I just think, after seeing David Benavidez in there with David Morell, a fight where David Benavidez didn't really have a lot to gain in that fight, but to dismantle David Morell the way that he did, I was a little bit shocked. It was a pretty competitive fight in the beginning, the early rounds, but then you could see the separation and experience from David Benavidez, the power, the offensive intensity was just too much from David Benavidez, and that's where the separation was created between him and David Morell. And I think David Benavidez just looked a lot more dangerous in there, and it made me think to myself, maybe Canelo shouldn't get in there. Even though Canelo's not old in boxing, in my opinion, he's still, relatively young. I think he has a lot of miles on him just because his age may not be 40 years old. He could still be, a 40-year-old in the boxing world because of all of his amateur fights, all of his pro fights put together. He does have a lot of miles on him. And to get in the ring with a guy like David Benavidez, after seeing that David Morell fight, Benavidez is no joke. Not that I thought that he was a joke before, but this really reinforced it. Taking a fight where there's not a lot of reward, but it's a high-risk fight, and Benavidez said, let's make it happen. And to make it a not-so-competitive fight, I'm not saying that it wasn't competitive, but Benavidez clearly won that fight, dismantled Morell, and looked very dangerous in there. The leverage he was getting on his shots was a crazy sight to see. So with that, it just made me think, like, yeah, maybe Canelo shouldn't be fighting this guy. And it's not because, like, I think Canelo's scared or this and that, but it's more so, like, Benavidez is huge. He's a huge 75-pounder, and he's just a huge person to be fighting, especially if you're 5'7", 5'8", give or take. For Canelo Alvarez, that's a huge man that you're going to be fighting, and I think, just stay in the direction of fighting guys that are your size. I feel like at this point in his career, maybe it's just not what he wants right now. I think it's just a very dangerous fight for Canelo Alvarez. Do I think he could win the fight? I do, just based off of experience, and I think Canelo has a lot of power, and he'd know how to break David down, but it's a big risk nonetheless. It's just such a big fighter he'd have to be going up against physically, where, the weight would matter. If they fought at 75, I feel like Benavidez would just be too physically powerful in that ring for Canelo Alvarez. As good as Canelo is, it would just be a very difficult fight, and I think that's the reason why Canelo hasn't taken this fight, because he knows it's not an easy fight. This is a serious fight, and like David Benavidez said, if he really was an easy opponent for Canelo would have handled David Benavidez already, but he hasn't, and I think there's a reason why. But let me know in the comments who you guys would have David Benavidez versus Canelo, and if you guys think we'll ever see it. I'm still optimistic. Maybe it'll be his last fight or something, But, you know, I understand if not, because David Benavidez looked really good against Morell. But let me know in the comments. But thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next Navs boxing video. Peace.